All right, so shalom, shalom. As y'all can see, back out here once again. All right, in like 2 seconds. All right, so man, it's another day. All right, that we out here, as you can see. So a lot of stuff. First and foremost, all right, hold on. We give all praises, honor, and glory going to Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai Ba'Shem Kakadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles, great millstone salutations to all you Akim. It's out there pushing this truth with all honesty and sincerity by way of the highways and byways, going out on the streets, teaching and preaching, and also by way of the internet, man. All right, shalom to you, very few sisters that's out there listening and learning. To you, very few aquaf that's out there listening and learning. To you, I say shalom, going back to the name. Yahweh being the Heavenly Father name, all right, which means He is or He exists. Bahashem, all right, which means coming in the name. What the world ignorantly calls JC or Jesus Christ, which is not His name, all right. Neither is it Jesus Christos, Yeshua, Yeshaya, Ashaya. Um, it's not none of that. All right. His name is Yahweh Shai. All right, which means He saves or He delivers. Okay. And God name is not Allah, not God, not Jehovah. Again, it's Yahweh. All right, so which means He is or He exists, and His Son name is Yahweh Shai, which means He is He saves or He delivers. So He is the Savior or He is the deliverer. You so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans are the true biblical Hebrew Israelites. This your brother Nayat, man. I'm back out here today, man. Another little camp. Um, I told y'all if I couldn't come out Tuesday, I come out like Wednesday or Thursday. So you see, I'm out here Thursday. Yesterday it was kind of gloomy and a little rainy, I guess. Probably not the best weather. Today was a little bit warmer, so. But man, we about to go ahead and go into these scriptures, all right? Because the doctrine of Yahweh Shah, all right, is opposes to the New World Order, all right? And I'm pretty sure y'all know that, right? Because everything that you see that's going on, all right, when it comes to the especially like, the food and shit like that. I'm hearing this people getting like box of ticks and shit like that. I seen this one chick today on the news. She was talking about how she got water ticks, and water ticks is something that go in between your fingers and shit. Uh, she was talking about a couple things. They still doing strikes. You just saying it was just some type of Israeli dude, like chief Israeli dude or whatever. You know, um, I guess it was like a flotilla or whatever. People was on the boat and they had started abusing them or whatever, mistreating them and shit like that. The motherfuckers talking about free Palestine, and then you got DJT with this 1 billion, 1.8 billion, basically $2 billion, man, to give out to January Sixers. But what's crazy is I seen a video too that was like, damn, how you gonna give out all this money to January Sixers, the people who are neo Nazis and stuff like that, but you're not gonna give it to the Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. It's because this system was never set up for you, so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. All right, I don't know how many times brothers got to go into that, but this world's so stuck on stupid, man. It's really just, it's like, man, at this point, like if you're not waking up to what the fact is, man, that the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans are the true biblical Hebrew Israelites, all right, it's like you just lost. And then it don't even end there, man. You know what I'm saying? Like people would think that I was going into this the other day, like people would think that just because you an Israelite, right, that mean that you good, man. The only thing our people know, they'd be like, well, I'm an Israelite, you know what I'm saying? But they still end up doing some wicked ass shit. It's like people take as being like an Israelite is just like a title or something. It's not a title. All right. But this is Jeremiah 3:15. It says, and I will give you pastors according to my heart. All right. It says, we shall feed you with knowledge and understanding. Okay. Amen. And you got to be seeking out the true pastors, man. All right. The true men of Yahweh Shem Yahushua. All right. That's what it's all about. If you're not searching out them men or trying to listen to the videos or listen to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone, um, then I really don't know what to tell you, man. Like you're gonna be lost because all these prophecies and stuff like that that's coming to pass, GMS or Great Millstone, right? is right on point. All right, we are on point. So I'm not seeing why, you got everybody, all these other people, they got their own little interpretation of the scriptures. What the scriptures say, there is no interpretation, okay, of the scriptures. So no private interpretation of the scriptures. So a lot of people just don't have the understanding of the scriptures. So they have to seek the prophets. You have to be taught by somebody in order to teach the Bible. You can't go to a physical one of them schools, right? One of them Apostle Tahar call them cemetery schools, man. All right, but this Jeremiah 3:15 in the NLT, I got a lot of scriptures. So it says, "And I will give you shepherds after my own heart." It says, "In heart," going back to mind. All right. It says, "Who will guide you with knowledge and understanding." All right. Especially in these times, man, because I'm starting to see a lot of Jakes. I seen this one Jake on the internet yesterday, of course, and they got these long ass fucking dreads, right? They're looking like a bitch. He got these long ass dreads and stuff, and what he's doing is he like, hey man, it's gonna be time. Like when we gonna come up and stand? Like we just can't be giving these people our money and stuff like that. And it's like, yeah, like, what you gonna do? You gonna stop working? Like, if you stop working, then like you can't feed your family. You know what I'm saying? If you got one, or maybe you know what I'm saying. A lot. See, it's gonna come to a point that when that MOTB come out, it's either you gonna take that and stay a part of society and keep on trying to work before the Lord come back and destroy your ass, or you not gonna take it. You gonna go through some suffering. You're gonna go through some persecution and stuff like that. A lot of our people, they're not trying to go through persecution. They're not trying to be afflicted. They're not trying to be chastised. That's what's wrong with our people. A lot of our people, man, they just wake up. Like I noticed a thing with Eve too. um, I was talking to my peoples about this. I was like, man, how come every time I always see somebody or whatever, or I always see a female, first thing in the morning, man, the first thing she grabbing is coffee. I heard coffee, man, be having rat shit in it and everything now. So it's pretty bad. Like you can't even get a cup of Joe. And I used to drink coffee. I don't drink coffee no more. I drink tea. But it's like, man, I see a whole bunch of females, man, lined up at Dunkin' Donuts, McDonald's, anywhere, Starbucks, anywhere just to get a coffee, man, like they quick fix. Then they go to work with a smile on their faces in front of Esau, you know what I'm saying? And they do everything that he do. Hey, look, these women do everything that they manager or Esau Edom tell them to do, but they don't never do what the Lord tell them to do, right? This Jeremiah 28:8. It says, "In the ancient prophets who preceded," it says, and this in the NLT, Jeremiah 28:8. It says, "The ancient prophets who preceded you and me spoke against many nations, always warned of war, disaster, and disease, man. Because look what's coming, man. You got all these. You got the hunt. You got the what's that? You got the hunter. You got the Hunter V, right? You got the Ebola shit. The Ebola case went up from like I think like 30 to like 130. Now it's at like 150 or something like that. They talking about it's spreading rapidly. So the U.S. had ended up shutting down. I guess like they gave TSA like, hey, look, like anybody that's coming in from Uganda and shit like that, they ain't gonna be able to come through because of what's going on. And we know already what happened last time. It's the same thing, and this devil gonna do it again. But this time, see, the last time people had a lot of money. Well, I ain't gonna say a lot of money, but people had a job and people had money. So then when the pandemic came, it was more of a, all right, well, I still got my job, or I could be at the house and try to still get something. Well, now nobody has a job. Um, Nobody really has no income coming in. So a lot of people that don't have a job and stuff like that, them type of people, you know what I'm saying? They you know what I'm saying? They're gonna be left out. They probably gonna be going through a lot of family problems. You know what I'm saying? A lot of ups and downs. When you in the house with somebody, and if it definitely ain't your crib, a lot of times, man, they gonna be asking you to pay for where you stay at. I mean, like, it's only right, or do something in the house that I'm saying is substantial. Do something. You know what I'm saying? The best thing a woman can have in her house is a man. I'll tell you that right now. I'll tell you that right now. But a lot of people gonna end up suffering, man, in these times. All right. This Jeremiah 28:8 in the KJV. It says, "The prophets that have been before me and before thee of old prophesied both against many countries and against great kingdoms of war of evil and pestilence. This is Galatians chapter 1, verse 4, right? It says, who gave himself for our sins that we that he might deliver us, right? Who is us? The Israelites, man. It's not talking about delivering the Edomites, man. The Edomites wasn't given these laws, statutes, and commandments, man. Let me go ahead and matter of fact, I got two of them. So let me grab this one first. This is Psalms. All right. And the one dude, man, the old school dude that was out here, it's crazy, man. You will come up and talk about somebody else's vehicle and be like, hey man, I like your vehicle, but you don't want to talk about this word. It's crazy. It's Psalms 50 and 16. It says, but unto the wicked, the Most High saith, what hast thou to do to declare my statutes? Or, right, it says, or that thou shouldest take my covenant in thy mouth. All right, because these heathens, they can't get it. All right, and that's why, when they kingdom falling and they over there looking around and don't understand why, well, that's the reason why. All right, they kingdom falling, and the only thing that's gonna happen is that they gonna keep getting more and more mad. All right, that's the only thing. Okay, this Psalms chapter 147. All right, in verse 19 it says, he showeth his word unto Jacob, his statute and his judgments unto Israel. He have not dealt so with any nation. As for his judgments, that they have not known them. Praise you the Lord Yahweh. All right. And like what I said, man, I gotta give me a 12 tribes chart out here. But yeah, man, these heathens, man, they can't get it, man. That shit over with for them. So now you seeing a whole bunch of they women leaving them to get with Jake, or to get with get with any type of man other than they own one. Really. And you starting to see every tribe really want Judah. You know, for the most part, you see a lot of women uh, who just want Jake. They want Judah, specifically, but they want all the tribes, man. It's just, hey, it just is what it is. We the salt of the earth. All right, this is Luke chapter 6 and verse 20. It says, and he lifted up his eyes on his disciples and said, blessed be ye poor, it says, for yours is in the kingdom of the Most High. All right, so, like the scriptures even say, don't stack your treasures in heaven, not on earth where moths doth corrupt. Roughly paraphrasing, all right. So you don't be putting all your mindset and all your money and all your time and stuff into a place that was built upon wickedness. All right, you just don't do that. That ain't something that you do. All right, this is a time that we gotta basically, we being chastised, man. We gotta go. We going through the curses still. So as long as if we keep going through these curses, because now the curses starting to come on to our enemies though. So that's the good thing about it. All right, which is Deuteronomy 30 and 7. All right, let me grab this. This verse 21. It says, "Blessed are ye that hunger now, for ye shall be filled." Right? Because yeah, man, we gonna have all things, man. You gotta think about it. The even like the average, I see, like even like the average Israelite, man, he gonna have so much. You gonna be like, damn, we gonna have everything, man. Like brothers, like you see a lot of brothers' problems, man, is that they ain't got no women, man. A lot of Jake, he get with an Eve, man. She just give him a fucking hard time instead of being a pillar of rest. Your wife supposed to be a pillar of rest, man. Not a pillar of thorns and fucking diseases and shit like that. You supposed to, when you go home or whatever, when you chop it up with your girl and stuff like that, you like to be around her, man. Nowadays you don't even like to see these bitches, man. It's bad. All right. It says, blessed are ye when men, right? It says, when men shall hate you, and when they shall separate you from their company, and shall reproach you, and cast out your name as evil for the Son of Man's sake. All right. And that's what they're gonna be trying to do. All right. That's exactly what they're gonna be trying to do, man. Every time. All right. When you rather if you're on the highways, byways, if you're on the internet with it, that's just something that these devils do, man. They love doing it. All right. But and our people too. our people be like the most scoffers. I just seen the video yesterday with Bishop Manata Salakia, Elder Manata Zappa, right? I seen him and he had a video. No. It was Bon Atazawan, I believe. Bon Atazawan. Yeah, older brother from GMS Mississippi. He played this chick and she was like, look, uh she was like, Jesus ain't coming back. Blah blah blah. If he would have came back, it would have been back then. You know why she's saying that? Because the Lord, first of all, she ain't got the gift of faith. All right. Second of all, this word ain't for her. And third of all, she a 2/3. All right. The Lord ain't dealing with her. You gotta always remember this too. Eve was Eve the one that was talking to that damn serpent. All right. She the one that was talking and found and was on that wicked shit, man. That's because she's the weaker vessel. You gotta understand that. Eve being the weaker vessel, it's easy to go ahead and speak some shit into the bitch ear, and then she be like, "Oh, well, maybe I should go do this," and then she go do some dumb shit, and then blame it on you. You know what I'm saying? So that's just is what it is, man. All right, but I seen the girl. She was talking about Jesus ain't coming back and stuff. Brothers was like, man, they was about to start going into it. I started thinking about it like, man, fuck that bitch. You know, Second Ezra chapter 15, verse 1, it says, behold, speak thou in the ears of my people the words of prophecy, which I will put in thy mouth, saith the Lord, man. All right, when you scroll down to verse 5, it says, behold, saith the Lord, I will bring plagues upon the world. All right, sword, famine, death, and destruction. That's what's going on right now. All right, that's exactly what's going on right now in the other countries and stuff like that. And then soon it's gonna happen here because with this oil crisis or whatever that's going on, you have you got a lot of what you call that? You got a lot of all this oil and shit gonna be sucked up. And once the oil is sucked up, people, you ain't gonna be able to relight your house. You know what I'm saying? Like your house ain't, they gonna strip you from everything, man. You ain't gonna be able to use no electricity. Imagine not having electricity for a month. You know what I'm saying? Imagine that. You know, imagine that. Imagine if not having no water for 3 months or some shit. You know what I'm saying? So we definitely in them times, man. And it's only about a matter of time. And you can see these things speeding up day by day. Prophecies, more and more prophecies keep on coming. All right, the news. Every time that you see the news, you got like probably like 10 more things right after that video. Just because of how bad it is, Because it's been so bad for so long. It's like, but people starting to take it as a norm. That's why I'm like, by the time when it shut down again and stuff like that, it's gonna be fucked up out here. All right. But this second Ezra chapter 15, verse 5, it says, behold, saith the Lord, it says, I will bring plagues upon the world. It says the sword, famine, death, and destruction for wickedness have exceedingly polluted the whole earth, and their hurtful works are fulfilled, man. All right. Now when you go to this Luke chapter 6, verse 23, it says, rejoice in that day and leap for joy. It says, for behold, your reward is great in heaven, for in like manner did their fathers upon the prophets. All right, so again, man, we just waiting on that day. Right now, we just analyzing. All right, and I went into that on my last. I gotta do part two of my video, but I went into that on my last lesson. All right, going into analyzing. Right, they had different words for analyze, like dissect, right? Right? You just gathering information, right? You sitting back, you observing things. You watching Esau Edom kingdom fall, and you watching Jake lose their minds while Esau Edom kingdom fall because Negroes, Latinos, and a lot of Negroes, like 2/3 of our people, are the Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. They got a hold of this place and they don't want to let it go. All right. So this is Iraq, chapter 10, verse 8. It says, because of unrighteousness, all right, because of unrighteous dealings, it says injuries, right? It says in riches got by deceit, the kingdom is translated from one people to another. All right. So this place is about to come. This place is about to go down. All right, Esau, Edom, Queendom. All right, Fagatron. All right, this motherfucking place about to go down. This wicked ass, foul ass, wicked ass place about to go. All right, and then the Israelites is about to rise up, man. All right, and that's what it's about. When Yahweh Bashim Yahushua come back, he gonna destroy this fucking place, and then we gonna be living. You know what I'm saying? Then we gonna have servants. You know, them first 1,000 years. You know what I'm saying? Hey, man, they gonna be getting their ass whooped, and then we gonna allot them their lands. All right, then they gotta keep the days, whatever. Then they gonna learn that, damn, you know what? All this time they had the right way. You know what I'm saying? They gonna know that. All right, this is Revelation chapter 21, verse 1. It says, and I saw a new heaven and a new earth. It says, for the first heaven and the first earth were passed away. It says, and there was no more sea. It says, and I, John, saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down from the Most High out of heaven, prepared as a bride adorned for her daughter. For her husband, Slakia. All right? So, man, we going to inherit the kingdom of heaven, man. All right? But the thing is, what we got to do is just keep on pushing, keep on analyzing. Like Elder Malcolm did a lesson last night, right before I went to sleep, man. I was up all yesterday. I was tired of the bitch. Elder Malcolm did a lesson yesterday. He was like, man, because he was talking about the oil stuff, like what I was just talking about. Because, once that oil go, man, we on borrowed time, really. So once that oil go, it's a wrap. Then that's when they going to end up, ushering in. Some going to come in when they going to usher in that MOTB. All right, that's for a fact. All right, but he was saying that he was up in that watchtower. He had an image of the watchtower on the screen. He was like, that's me right now. I was like, yeah, that's true. That'd be all of us, because if you're not watching, you know what I'm saying? You can't really call yourself a watchman or a messenger. How you going to send a message if you're not watching anything, right? And a lot of our people, they don't like to do nothing anyway except for watch twerking videos, look at Sydney Sweeney, look at all these TikTok videos. Y'all can understand, man, if you do some studying, you look at a couple videos, some real good informative videos from the elders and apostles of Great Millstone, man, and the brothers, all right, that's in Great Millstone. And then you might look at some news, and then, bro, you know what I'm saying, go ahead and then pop on the movie or something like that. You feel me? Or whatever you want to do with your time. Our people so stuck in the fucking folly spirit, and that's why the mirth, all right, the partying and stuff like that of the U.S. is gone. All right, this man, I ain't gonna lie, bro. This bitch like a third world country. All right, this Second Chronicles, chapter 36 and verse 16. It says, "But they mocked the messengers of the Most High and despised his words and misused his prophets until the wrath of the Lord Yahweh arose against his people, till there was no remedy." Man, all right. So all them mockers, scoffers, motherfuckers be talking all that shit. All these people. When it come to all these niggas and their philosophies and shit, these niggas think they know a lot, but they don't know a motherfucking thing because they don't know the Bible. That's just flat the fuck out. If you don't know the Bible, then you all fucked up anyway, man. It's really, if you really don't know anything, like what I always say, shut the fuck up, close your mouth, and open up your ears, man. All right, this Proverbs, chapter 21, verse 1. It's in the KJV. It says, the king's heart, all right, remember the heart meaning the mind. That word heart goes back to Laab. So it says the king's heart is in the hand of the Lord Yahweh, right? It says, as the rivers of water, he turneth it whithersoever he will. So the Lord can do whatever he want, put in power whoever he want, whenever time he wants to. It's not up to you. Like a lot of people spend they whole life just saying that they gonna get rich and, oh man, I'm just gonna get rich or whatever. What that one scripture say, time and chance happeneth to them all. You know what I'm saying? But hey, man, it's all of the will of the Most High. You know what I'm saying? Proverbs 21 and 1 in the NLT, it says the king's heart is like a stream of water directed by the Lord. He guides it wherever he pleases. All right, you can't get around that. Right now, this is Genesis chapter 25 and verse 21. All right, it says that Isaac entreated the Lord Yahweh for his wife, because she was barren. And the Lord Yahweh was entreated of him, and Rebekah his wife conceived, and the children struggled together within her. And she said, if it be so, why am I thus? And she went to inquire of the Lord Yahweh, and the Lord Salakia. And the Lord Yahweh said unto her, two nations are in thy womb, and two manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels. It says, and the one people shall be stronger than the other people, which is Jake. All right, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. And the elder, which is Esau, Edom, shall serve the younger. Okay, which is the so-called Edomites, the so-called white people. Right? It says, and when her days to be delivered were fulfilled, behold, there were twins in her womb. Right? It says, and the first came out red all over like a hairy garment, and they called his name Esau. All right, like you be seeing like these rednecks and stuff like that, right? Because these motherfuckers not. Because if you look at a like I got a fucking white truck, I got a white garage in front of me, I got and a white sign in front of me. All right, you know what I'm saying? These motherfuckers ain't white, man. They red. You know. Verse 26 it says, and after that came his brother out, and and his hand took hold of Esau's heel, and his name was called Jacob. And Isaac was 80 old when she bare them. It says in the all right. So that's it on that, right? We're gonna come back to that. I want to go to this Sirach. It's Sirach chapter 33, verse 15. It says, so look upon all the works of the Most High, and there are two and two, one against another. All right, so what you're going to get sooner or later, you're going to start getting these race riots. All right, that's what's coming next. All right, the Bible talks about it. Nobody want to listen to it. You know, it's because a lot of people don't have an understanding of it, man. You know, but our people going to end up being destroyed because they ain't listen to the prophets. They ain't want to listen to the Lord's men. All right. This is Sirach chapter 42, verse 24. All things are double, one against another, and he hath made nothing imperfect. All right, so even with Esau being the wicked, being the heathen that he is, being the scum of the earth, being the most vilest, sickest, nastiest, homo faggotest motherfucker on this planet. All right, the Lord made him that way for a reason. He made him the wicked, he made us the righteous. All right, so this is Sirach 33 and verse 13. It says, as the clay is in the potter's hand to fashion it at his pleasure, so man is in the hand of him that made him, and to render to them as liking him best. It says, good is set against evil, and life against death. So is the godly against the sinner, and the sinner against the godly. All right, and what you constantly see, niggas that look like Chud the Builders and shit, is crazy because I heard a little bit more about that story. And now they was talking about that Aiden. If y'all don't know, they talking about that Aiden Ross might try to go ahead and put his ass, bail his ass out or something. He talking about, man, if you bail me out, I'll do the fight for free and shit like that. Well, that nigga bail that nigga out, somebody gonna put a hole in that nigga head. I ain't gonna lie. You just can't be going around saying things like that. But hey, you know, they already stripping all the rights and stuff like that from you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. You know, but you don't. We've been telling you this for years, man. You know, that especially the elders, man, they've been out decades, man. You know what I'm saying? Nobody want to listen. This is Romans. All right, this is Romans chapter 9, verse 11. It says, for the children being not yet born, neither having done any good or evil, that the purpose of the Most High according to election might stand, not of works, but of him that calleth. All right, so none ain't got to do with none of their works or anything. It says, it was said unto her, the elder shall serve the younger, as it is written, Jacob have I loved, but Esau have I hated. It says, what shall we say then? Is there unrighteousness with the Most High? God forbid, right? Like hell no. It says, for he saith to Moses, I will have mercy on whom I will have mercy, and I will have compassion on whom I will have compassion. Okay. Now we scroll down a little bit to verse 21, right? It says, have not the potter power over the clay? All right. So All right, I'm gonna read it again. Romans 9:21. Have not the potter power over the clay. All right, so you the one that formed the clay. It's like you and like when you was I don't know if y'all was back in elementary school with clay, and like I used to have like I had to make things out of clay. One of the things I made out of clay, I made something for my dad, and I made something. It might have been for me, right? But the one picture was like me, like I made out of clay. Those like me, like on a bike or whatever. And then like the other one was like I just made like an ashtray or whatever for my. Who the fuck is these niggas? And the other one I had made like a little tray or whatever for my what you call it for my people. It's like a little ashtray or whatever. But I'm the one that formed that. All right, that's the point. All right. It says verse 22, it says, what? It says, well, I'll start at 21 again. It says, have not the potter power over the clay of the same lump to make one vessel unto honor and another unto dishonor? Like what I was just saying, I had one. Okay, this is perfect because I had one. It was like it was a square. I made a picture out of clay. All right, that was one that I honored, and then the one that I dishonored, I made a fucking ashtray. Right? I was like, shit, my dad can use that. Put that to use on that. It's the same way it goes. Right? I didn't even peep that, man. Right? It says, what if God, willing to show his wrath and to make his power known, endure with much long suffering the vessels of wrath fitted to destruction? It says, and that he might have known the riches of his glory on the vessels of mercy, which he had afore prepared unto glory, man. All right. Now let me go to this right quick. This is Job. This is Job chapter 20 and verse 5. It says that the triumphing of the wicked is short, and the joy of the and it says, and the joy of the hypocrite but for a moment. All right, so what you got right now is that you got Esau Edom. His ass, he over here, he trying to do his little, his biggest, because you gotta think about it. He like, look, my kingdom falling, so I gotta start doing a whole bunch of shit. So that's why you got a whole bunch of data centers. That's why you got a whole bunch of pestilence like these ticks. All right, you got all these viruses and stuff like that going on. All right, you got concentration camps. You got new laws coming in. Okay, old laws taken out. All right, because this devil made these laws. All right, none of these laws are in the scriptures, man. All right, so like when they even tell you to put your hand in on the Bible when you go to court, they tell you to don't say anything but the truth. Well, shit, your whole organization ain't built on truth. Your whole organization, your whole kingdom is built on lies. You see? So it's Job. I'll go up a little bit. It's Job 20 and verse 4. It says, knowest thou not this of old, since man was placed upon the earth, that the triumphant of the wicked is short, and the joy of the hypocrite but for a moment? It says, though his excellency mount up to the heavens, and his head reach unto the clouds, it says, yet he shall perish forever like his own dung. And it says, they which have seen him shall say, where is he? All right, because Esau is about to be completely eradicated off the face of the fucking earth. After them 1,000 years of captivity and him getting his ass whooped, he going right into that pit, boy. All right, which is beautiful. This is Genesis chapter 20. I'm gonna go back to Genesis. Genesis chapter 25 and verse 27. It says, and the boys grew. All right, talking about Jacob and Esau. It says, and Esau was a cunning hunter. As you see today, this nigga goes into the woods and just make everything fucking extinct. I seen this devil come out. This motherfucker got a knife. This motherfucker had a knife, and when you put it into a nigga, you press a button, and CO2 burst in their fucking stomach or some shit. Man, these niggas is weird, you know? Anyway, man, it says, and the boys grew, and Esau was a cunning hunter, all right? And a man of the field. It sounds like the self-proclaimed white man, right? It says, and Jacob was a plain man, right? Plain, right? Dwelling in tents. What's the tents? The house. Jake like chilling at the crib, drinking, chill at the crib for a little bit. You feel me? Jake don't like doing too much, man. You know, a little bit of drink, get some ass, couple wives, lay back, relax, right? Listening to music and stuff, studying. What else is it to do? Jake, fuck, Jake really don't want a lot. It's these fucking Edomites that want the fucking world, right? What's that? It would be like, I want the world, Chico, off of Scarface and everything in it. Look, we got a fucking bug out coming down the block. This bitch louder than me, and I'm a prophet. It says, and Isaac loved Esau. It says because he did eat of his venison, right? But Rebekah loved Jacob. It says, and Jacob sod pottage, and Esau came from the field. It says, and he was faint. And Esau said to Jacob, feed me, I pray thee, with that same red pottage, for I am faint. Therefore was his name called Edom. All right. It says, and Jacob said, sell me this day thy birthright. It says, and Esau said, behold, I am at this point to die. It says, and what profit shall this birthright do to me? So not only did he eat some uncooked meat, all right, not only did this man eat some uncooked meat, not only did he do that, right, he also despised his birthright. He was like, he said, what profit shall this birthright do to me? All right, so you know this nigga gotta go. All right, for real. But Genesis 25 and 30. Salakia. Baruch chapter 3, verse 35. It says, this our power, and there shall none other be accounted of in comparison of him. It says, he hath found out all the way of knowledge, and have given it unto Jacob his servant, and to Israel his beloved. All right, so it's not given to no other nation. That's why I read that Psalms 50 and 16. Okay, and that Psalms 147, 19 and 20. You can also read it in the NLT as well. All right. The second Ezra, chapter 3 and verse 13. It says, now when they live so wickedly before thee, thou didst choose thee a man from among them. It says, whose name was Abraham. It says, him thou lovest, and unto him only thou showest thou will. It says, and madest an everlasting covenant with him, promising him that thou wouldest never forsake his seed. Okay? It says, and unto him thou gavest Isaac, right? And unto Isaac thou gavest Jacob and Esau. It says, as for Jacob, the Israelites, thou didst choose him to thee and put by Esau. You see? He put by Esau. He's like, man, Esau, man, fuck that. You know? It said, which is hilarious, man. It says, and so Jacob became a great multitude. All right, but you see, our people in a low, degenerate state, man. This is the worst captivity ever, man. Because even in this captivity, we don't even we didn't even know who he was, man. All right, so you can only imagine the things that this devil did, you know, to our forefathers and stuff like that, to the point that we even forgot who he was. Right? That's why I says in the same place they was called strangers and pilgrims. I forget how I said. It's the short. They surely they shall see your They surely they shall see your salvation. You know, roughly paraphrasing. It's Genesis 36 and 8 though. It says, thus dwelt Esau in Mount Seir. It says Esau is Edom, and these are the generations of Esau, the father of the Edomites, in Mount Seir. Now, when you go to Genesis chapter 27 and verse 1, it says, and it came to pass that when Isaac was old and his eyes were dim, so that he could not see, he called Esau his eldest son and said unto him, my son. And he said unto him, behold, here I am. And he said, behold, now I am old. I know not the day of my death. It says, now therefore take, I pray thee, thy weapons, thy quiver, and thy bow, and go out to the field and take me some venison, and make me, right? It says, and make me some savory meat, such as love, right? It says, and bring it to me. It says that I may eat, that my soul may bless thee before I die, right? This is let me go to this. This is Hebrews chapter 12, verse 16, right? It says, it says, lest there be any fornicator or profane person as Esau, who for one morsel of meat sold his birthright, man. All right, so he sold his birthright. All right, he didn't like it, man. He despised it. He was like, man, what this got to do with me? He cast it off like he didn't really care, just like how our people do today. It says, for ye know that how that afterward, when he would have inherited the blessing, right? It says he was found, he said he was rejected, for he found no place for of repentance, though he sought it carefully with tears. All right, so Esau, Edom, the self-proclaimed white man cannot repent. All right, there is no repentance for the self-proclaimed white man. It said, this is Job chapter 20 and verse 29. It says, this is the portion of a wicked man from the Most High, and the heritage appointed unto him by the Most High. Okay? And, hey, and there you go. You feel me? Let me grab this right quick. This Romans, all right, because we better close up soon. This Romans chapter 9 and verse 18. It says, therefore hath he mercy on whom he will have mercy, and whom he will harden it. All right. So if the Lord wants you to get it, he gonna let you get it. If you can't get it, you can't get it. The same thing with Jacob and Esau, all right? Jacob was the chosen vessel. Esau wasn't. Jacob was made to be righteous. Esau was made to be wicked. Okay? And these heathen nations, all right, they just gonna be heathen nations until, they be beat into submission. All right? That's just the honest to God truth. This is Obadiah, right? Chapter 1 and verse 3. It says, the pride of thine heart have deceived thee. It says, thou that dwellest in the clefts of the rock. It says, whose habitation is high, that saith in his heart, who shall bring me down to the ground? All right, if you ever notice, when Esau Edom, even with the satellites, he got skyscrapers, right? Call them skyscrapers and stuff like that. He got all these different type of things, man. Because he think that he is the Most High. For him to look down on people, you know what I'm saying? But, he's really the scum of the earth. He's really the bottom of the fucking barrel. It's Obadiah chapter 1, verse 4. It says, though thou exalt thyself as the eagle, and though thou set thy nest among the stars, thence will I bring thee down, saith the Lord Yahweh. All right? Yeah, because he gonna have to go down. Even like I seen a picture with DJT. He made a photo of I guess it was Iran, and he had what the fuck you call that, man? Basically, man, it was a laser from space, from like a satellite laser in space. Like you seen it on all kinds of movies or whatever. It was able to beam down and blow up fucking Iran or whatever. You like, whoa, what the fuck? But Esau, Edom, that's how he is. You know what I'm saying? That's the pride of this devil. No, but these other nations and stuff like that, they ain't fucking with that. So now you got all these other nations. They like, hey man, let the weak say I'm strong, right? So now you got all these other nations. They like, hey man, you gonna have to bow down to us. So as you know it, the U.S. already lost that war, right? It's Isaiah, and things is only going to get worse here on out. It's Isaiah 14 and 13. It says, for thou hast said in thine heart, I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of the Most High, and I will sit also upon the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High. Yet thou shalt be brought down to hell, to the sides of the pit. Because at the end of the day, that's where you're going. All right. Esau Edom, self-proclaimed white man. That's where he's going at the end of the day. All right. After them 1,000 years of captivity, you definitely going into that pit. All right. You ain't gonna be no more. All right. Which is everybody gonna rejoice. I'll probably read this for my last one. This Psalms chapter 149 and 5. It says, let the saints be joyful in the glory, right? It says, let them sing aloud upon their beds. Let the high praises of God be in their mouth and a two-edged sword in their hand. It says to execute vengeance upon the heathen and punishments upon the people. All right, man. It says to bind their kings with chains and their nobles with feathers of iron, to execute upon them the judgment written. This honor have all his saints. Praise ye the Lord, Yahweh Shem Yahushua. Okay. Matter of fact, I'll read this one. This is second Ezra, chapter 4 and verse 26. It says this, it says, then answered he me and said, the more thou searchest, it says, the more thou shalt marvel, for the world hasteth fast to pass away. Right? It says, and cannot the things that are promised to the righteous in the times to come, it says, for this world is full of unrighteousness and infirmities. But as concerning the things whereof thou askest me, I will tell thee, for the evil is sown, but the destruction thereof is not yet come. All right? And sooner or later, man, this place is going to be destroyed. I got two more scriptures. This John 18 and 36, it says, Yahweh answered and said, Yahweh Shah answered, my kingdom is not of this world. If my kingdom were of this world, then would my servants fight. It says, that I should not be delivered to the Jews. It says, right, it was the wicked ones. The wicked people, all right? The wicked portion of our people. All right, it says, not them fucking tiny hats, man. It's talking about Israelites. It says, but now is my kingdom not from hence. Right? Now, when you go to Revelation, right, this is my last scripture, Revelation 11:11, it says, I might get one after this. It says, and after 3 days and a half, the spirit of life from the Most High entered into them. It says, and they stood upon their feet, and great fear fell upon them which saw them. All right? Yeah. Yeah. All right. I might get one more, man. I don't know though. I don't know. Let me see. Hey, yeah. I got one more. This shit. This Psalm 17 and 13. It says, arise, O Lord Yahweh, disappoint him, cast him down. It says, deliver my soul from the wicked, which is thy sword. It says, from men which are thy hand, O Lord Yahweh. It says, from the men of the world which have their portion in this life, and whose belly thou fillest with thy hid treasure. It says, they are full of children, and leave the rest of their substance to their babes. It says, as for me, I will behold thy face in righteousness. I shall be satisfied when I awake with thy likeness, man. Okay? When I awake with thy likeness, man. Because we want to be just like Yahweh Shem Yahushua, because we don't want to keep sinning and stuff like that no more. All right? Because we still sin and stuff. You know, we still go off time to time. We don't want to do that. You know what I'm saying? We don't like sinning. We don't like going off. You know what I'm saying? We beat ourselves down about it. If you're not beating yourself down about it, it's something wrong with you. You know what I'm saying? But, you know, man, that was pretty much it for the day. You know, I didn't know it was going to be like 50 degrees out here today. It was about 40 degrees last night. Day before yesterday, it was fucking 85 degrees. So, man, it's crazy. But, Lord willing, man, I'll be making a part 2 to the last video. This video will probably be uploaded around like 1 or 2. But it'll give me some drink, man. With that, and give all praise, honor, and glory going to Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai Ba'Shem Kakwadash. All right, until next time, Shalom.